Hi everyone, my name is Sean. Welcome to my first Shopify coding tutorial. Today we're going to be going over how to create your own custom announcement bar. Most themes nowadays come with an announcement bar integrated already. However, they're somewhat limited in what you can do, especially if you're building this theme for a client who might not want to dive into custom HTML. They're much more comfortable using the theme editor Shopify has. In this case, this announcement bar, you can input your text, you can choose your color scheme, and you can input your link. And this is reflected right here. However, there's not only these three options. So today what we're going to be doing is creating our own custom announcement bars. I've created two here, free shipping on orders $50 plus, and spring sale ends today. We're going to be adding those, and we're going to be giving ourselves a lot more options. We can choose whether we want it to be on the home page. We can choose whether we want the text lowercase, uppercase. We can change color, bold text, and we can choose actually the height of the announcement bar. And these are just a few customization options we can add. We can add as many as we like, but this will give you a bit of an introduction to Shopify's liquid templating language. So if you're new to that, or you want to build this for your client, follow along. Let's get started. So first thing I like to do is go into Shopify's theme backend, going to online stores and then themes, and we'll see our current theme here in my case is called Dawn. Let's go ahead and click Actions and click Duplicate, and that'll create an exact copy and place it within our theme library at the bottom. I've gone to Actions and Rename, and I've renamed mine Dev Theme Custom Announcement Bar, and I've given it today's current date, just so I can reference it. Once you've done that, you've created a duplicate of the live theme and you've renamed it. We'll go back into Actions and Edit Code. And we'll be brought to a page that looks like this. Here you'll see on the left all the files that make up your Shopify theme. One of the most important ones is a file called theme.liquid. So let's click into that and take a look. And you'll see if you scroll down a little bit, the basic tags that you're quite familiar with on every website. We've got our head, opening and closing tags. We've got our body and opening and closing HTML tags. So this page is rendered on every single page of our website, this layout. So it's very important. And within this, we're actually going to be rendering our announcement bar too, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let's scroll down a little bit on the left here. And within our sections folder, we'll see my theme comes with a file called announcement bar. We'll click into that and take a look. Here we have a bit of loops, if statements, switch cases, and that's all wrapping up some basic HTML. And then as bottom here, we have some schema as well. We'll go into what all this means in a moment, but we're going to be using this kind of as an idea for how we want our announcement bar to look and function. Of course, we want ours to have a bit more of customization. So what we'll do is go into sections on the left, click add a new section, and we'll call ours custom announcement bar. Create that section. All right, and there's going to create an empty file that looks like this. Let's give ourselves a little bit of room and create our announcement bar. So I create a div with a class of custom announcement bar. Close that. All right. Let's make our announcement bar link somewhere. So in my case, I'm just going to link it to google.com. Let's give it a class of custom announcement bar link. Close that. Within that, let's create a p tag paragraph. Give it a class of custom announcement bar message. All right, perfect. And that's it. Let's go in here and just give a test message here. This is a test announcement for Shopify. Forgot an N. Perfect. And we'll go up here to the left, the right, and click Save. Also on your keyboard, instead of going into the Save button here, you can press the shortcut Control S on your keyboard, and that'll also save the file. Really quick, let me also just add some style tags here. Opening and closing style tags, and let's reference our class we just created here. And all we're going to do is center that. Control S to save, and that's that. Let's preview our theme by right up here clicking the preview, and we'll see that nothing's there. Let's go to our theme editor by clicking Customize Theme at the top, just to take a look. Sometimes takes a moment. If it won't load the first time, within 5-10 seconds, I'll refresh. All right, and if we look on the left here, we can still see a reference to the announcement bar, and this is referencing the one that came with our theme. Welcome to our test store. But how do we get the one that we just created to appear here instead? Let's go back to our theme, our code editor, and we're going to go back to our theme.liquid file. We're going to search for announcement. And to do that, I press Control F on the keyboard. That'll bring up this search bar. And you'll find here that they are rendering a static section called announcement bar. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to render the section we just created, and we named ours custom announcement bar. All right. And what I like to do is I'm going to hide their announcement bar by wrapping it in a comment tag, opening and closing comment tag. And in Shopify Liquid, you do that by typing comment and end comment. Let's Control S, save that. Perfect. Let's go back to our preview, and there we are. You can see that this is a test announcement for Shopify. This is the one that we created. We can click that, and we're brought to Google. Perfect. So it works. All right, so now that we've created our announcement bar, we want to give our client the ability to edit the text within the announcement or change the color, change the height, things like that, without having them go directly into the HTML file. So to do that, we're going to create properties for them to edit within Shopify's theme editor. By default right now, you can see on the left here, we have a section called section name, and that was given to our announcement bar by default, and you can see that here within our schema section of our announcement file. Let's rename this to custom announcement bar. Save that, Control S. If we refresh our theme editor, you'll see now that it's called custom announcement bar, just so you and your client can easily find this section within the editor. But now we have to give properties for our client to edit, and we do that within the schema section as well. We'll go within our opening and closing settings, give ourselves a little bit of room. If you're familiar with JSON or JavaScript object notation, this formatting will look quite familiar to you. If you're not, you just need to be very careful. JSON is very particular syntactically that you don't forget opening and closing brackets, quotations, commas, things like that. So to start, our first setting property, we're going to create an opening and closing bracket, give ourselves some room, and we're going to give ourselves one of the main attributes that's included within every property. You have to have a type. So we're going to do an opening quotation, within that type, a colon, and we're going to give it a type of text, and then a comma. I'm going to reference a file. Let's see. Shopify has a reference file where we can go into all the attribute types. They have checkboxes, numbers, radios, ranges, select, text, and text area. Let's go down to our text one because that's the one we're going to be doing. And you can see here that we have to have a type of text. We have to give it an ID, and they have a label as well. In this case, they've called it heading, and they've also given it default text. And this is kind of what it looks like here on the theme editor. So we're going to be making something very similar. Let's go back to our code editor. On the next line, let's give ours an ID of announcement bar text, comma, next line. We're going to give it a default value of this is a default announcement, comma, and we also have to give it its label so that the client knows what they're editing. Announcement text. Perfect. And now since that's the last item in my line, I don't include a comma. So let's save that. Perfect. I know Shopify's, I mentioned before, built-in theme editor is kind of lacking on the formatting side. So if you're particular about how it looks and to keep things organized, you can select entire lines and press tab. So we've saved that. Let's go back to our theme editor, refresh that. All right, and if we click on our custom announcement bar, we can see here now we've created this field for our text. And we can type anything we want here, hello. But you'll notice that it's not replacing our announcement bar text. So let's link that up. So right now, always we have this is a test announcement for Shopify rendering. So let's delete that. And what we're going to do is reference our property here within our schema. So to do that, we do two opening and closing curly brackets, and we reference the section dot settings, and we have to put our ID. In this case, it was announcement bar text, sections dot settings dot announcement bar text, and that's it. So section referring to our file type being a section, settings referring to settings here, and then the ID, announcement bar text, being right here, the announcement bar text. Let's save that and go back to our theme editor here, refresh that. And it looks like it worked. If we edit this text on the left here, you'll see it reflected on the website. Hello, this is working great. And we can save that. And now we've done that. So let's add in a few more properties that we want our client to be able to edit. Let's also give our client the ability to edit the font size of the announcement bar. So as a placeholder, let's go up to our CSS here and create a font size. And let's set that to 14 pixels just for now. We'll go down to our schema and create another setting for our client to edit. So doing comma, opening and closing curly bracket, give ourselves some room. And let's make this type is going to be range. Let's copy this up here, paste it down here, and give ourselves an ID of font size. Let's set the default value to 14 pixels. And in this case, just like Booleans, numbers, we won't include quotation marks around. Let's give ourselves a label. Let's call it font size. Whenever we specify an attribute with the type of range, we have to also include a min value, a min attribute, and let's set this one to 12. We also have to specify a max, 20. And we have to specify an attribute called step. And what step is it allows us to decide what values between the minimum and the maximum we want the user to be able to select. So if I set a step of 2, the user will be able to select 12, 14, 16, 18, or 20. But I want the user in this case to be able to select every number in between 12 and 20. So I'm going to set this step value to 1, comma there. And the last one I'll include here is an attribute called unit, and we're going to set it to pixel. Okay, there we go. Let me make this look a bit prettier, and we can save that. Great. And now we have to reference this new setting we created down here up here in our CSS. So we'll remove the 14 there, do our double opening and closing curly brackets, and reference the setting we created. So section dot settings, and then the ID, which we called font size here. And there we go. Let's save that. And now let's go back to our theme editor and refresh. And now you see we have a range slider here, and if we select and adjust that, the font size changes. We can select any size we like. Let's save that. Awesome. Let's also create the height adjustment for the announcement bar. We'll just do that by adding a padding value. So in this case, let's say 10 pixels top and bottom and 0 pixels for the left and right by default. But let's go and add a range slider for the padding value as well. So I'll select the previous one we have, and I'll just replace some numbers here and give this something like height, an ID of height. Let's set my minimum to 0, my maximum to, let's keep it at 20, steps at 1. Let's set the label to height, and let's set the default to something like 6. We can save that, and now we have to reference that up here. And so we'll, same as before, double opening and closing curly brackets, section dot settings dot height. Save that. Let's refresh our theme editor. Now it's a bit hard to tell because the background color we haven't selected just yet, but you can see a little bit the height of the announcement bar is changing as we adjust the slider. So let's save that, and let's also add in now the ability to adjust the background color. Let's go down here below our height. We're going to create another setting. We're going to give it a type of color. Let's give it an ID of background color, a label of background color, and then I'm going to set the default value to white. Almost forgot our opening and closing curly brackets. Save that. Nope, looks like I made a mistake somewhere. No quotations. Let's add the CSS up here. Background color. Normally we'd set it to something static like red, but in this case we will reference the setting we created. Section.settings.background color. Save that. Go back to our theme editor, and let's refresh. And now we can select background color. By default we had it set at white. Let's select a red to see if it works, and it works. Perfect. Save that. And now we can actually see a bit better the height adjustment too. Just to make it look a bit nicer as well, I'm going to get rid of these white bars above and below the announcement, and those are the margins. So I'm going to just set the margin to 0 and save that. We're also now going to add the URL linkability for our client. So comma, opening and closing curly bracket, and this type is going to be of type URL. And let's set the ID to link. Let's also set the label to link. All right, and now let's reference it up here. So in place of this direct link to Google, we'll reference my property down below. Section.settings.link. And save. Now when we refresh, we can set the link to something within the store. In this case, let me set it to my All Products Collection page. And now when I click that, it'll take me to my collection page. Right now I don't have any products to display. Or, like I said, you can link it to somewhere outside of your website. https www.google.com. And you'll need to, whatever it generates, you'll need to click that up here. Then save. Let's click that. It'll tell me I can't open it within this window, so it'll do it within another one. And there we go, it worked. All right. Let's also allow for setting of a custom font color. So let's just select this color setting we created here for the background color and create another one for font color and just rename a few things. So font color, and just change the label to font color as well. And I'm going to set the default to black. Save that. And let's go back up here to our CSS, add a style for color, and we'll reference that one we just created, section.settings.fontcolor. Save that. Let's take a look at our theme editor. And now when we select our font color, let's select a green, and it looks great. Let's add a few more settings in here before we wrap up this custom announcement bar. The next one we're going to add is a bit larger, so I'm going to copy it from Shopify's reference files, and I'll link this in the description below. But it's this large setting right here. Let me copy that, and I'm going to put it right below the input text area. So we'll paste that in, do a few tabs so it looks nice. And you'll see it's a type of select, so meaning it's going to be a drop-down selector. Let's give it an ID of text transform, and we'll label it the same, text transform. And now there's also within that an array of options. So for the first value, let's give it a value of normal, and we'll just call that normal. The next one we'll do is lowercase, and we'll call it lowercase. Same thing, uppercase, and uppercase. We're going to add one more in here. So select that one, add a comma, and this one is going to be capitalized. So capitalize first letters. And let's set the default to normal. I'll make this a bit more clear, this normal one up here, by saying don't transform. Save that. No, it looks like I made a mistake somewhere. Normal right here, I misspelled. All right. Now let's reference that up here in our CSS. So text transform, section.settings.text transform. Save that, and we'll refresh our theme editor. And now we have a drop-down selector over here we can select from. If we select uppercase, now all the text in the announcement is uppercase. Capitalize first letters, likewise, it looks great. Let's save that. And the last setting we'll be adding is a checkbox that allows for the announcement bar to only show on the home page. So let's just copy our checkbox we created earlier for our bold text. We'll copy that, and we'll paste it up above to be the very first setting. Let's give it an ID of show on home page. Let's leave the default value to false, and let's set the label to only show on home page. We're going to go all the way up. Let's save now. We're going to go all the way up to our HTML portion, and we're going to create some space for an if statement. And it's going to go like this. If template dot name is equal to index. So what this means is if we are on the home page, do something. Or if section dot settings dot show on home page is equal to false, then continue. And let's close this if statement down here. And let's save. All right, so this inner portion here, because it's wrapped within the entire if statement, it'll only render if we are on the home page or this checkbox is set to false. So let's take a look and see how that works. So let's go to our announcement bar here. Let's refresh. And now we have our checkbox here. So only show on homepage. Right now it's not checked. If we check it, nothing will change because we are in fact on the home page. But let's go to another page of the website. And now you see the announcement bar is not there. Let's go click into the announcement bar settings here. Let's uncheck it. And now it will appear again on every single page. So we've created this really nice customizable announcement bar for our client. And feel free to go in and add as many custom settings as you like. But what if our client wanted to add more than one announcement bar? How would we do that? We do that with something called Shopify Blocks. I've created another test theme here to show you what that kind of looks like. Here on the left, custom announcement bars. Within that, you can see that I have the ability to add announcements, as many as I like. I wouldn't want to add maybe 10, that gets a bit crazy, but you get the idea. In our next video, I'll show you how to do this. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.